Okay, now last time we talked about forward motion is impossible without change. So how do we as leaders come alongside someone who is having a hard time transitioning through change? It's kind of like slipping into the passenger seat next to them and just beginning to engage them in conversation. We talked about asking questions and listening. What is their biggest concern? So how did that go for you? Did you practice that this week? Well, you know that it's not only about just asking questions and listening, but we're also responding at the same time. And so really the next step in this shepherding tool is really to respond appropriately. Now, responding is very important. There are some responses that we could give that could actually shut down the conversation. You know, responses like, well, what I would do is, or well, at least there's a bright side. Or something like, you know, what you're doing is actually called sin. Okay, there are some responses that we just want to try to avoid altogether. But other responses, again, there's no formula. So responses can be given appropriately when you listen for cues from what they're saying. And one of the tools that we like to use just to help is called the FAR process. Or you can remember it by saying, I want to take them as far as they will go in this conversation. FAR, F-A-R. FAR stands for F is face their reality, A is adjust their perspective, and R is reset their course. Okay, so face their reality, adjust their perspective, and reset their course. In this video and the next few videos, we're going to talk about each one of those and give some examples for those processes. But the first one, face their reality. Now notice it's their reality, not your reality. And that makes a big difference. Because you could be listening to somebody and they're talking about how hard this is for them, and you could be thinking, well, if I were in their shoes, that would not be hard for me at all. It's not about my reality, it's about their reality. So you're listening for any kind of emotion that they are describing. This is discouraging. I'm angry about this. This is upsetting. You're going to hear any kind of emotion and address emotion first. The reason for this is because when we are flooded with emotion, there are chemicals running around in our brain that block any kind of reasoning at that moment. So even if you gave them your best advice at that moment, they wouldn't even hear it. So address their emotion. What does that sound like? It might sound like, well, I can tell this is really hard for you. Or I hear that you're very discouraged here. Or I understand that this is confusing and frustrating. So just acknowledging their emotion, that's how you can face their reality. So practice that this week, and next time we'll talk about the A, adjusting their perspective, and maybe adjusting ours too.